We told you last week about how the sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham was chosen to fill his Senate seat until his term ends in January. And we were saying, this is just straight up nepotism. Obviously, the only reason that Darline Graham Nordone was chosen to fill the seat is because she was Graham's sister. And the idea is this is a way to pay homage to Graham and to honor his legacy by allowing his sister to serve out the term. But if there was any silver lining to the nepotism, it was that it was just for a few months, right? It was between now until the term ends in January, and then Graham was actually supposed to be up for re-election in November. So the idea is Darline will finish out this term, and then Republicans in South Carolina will have an opportunity to have a contest to choose their next senator. Maybe it'll be Ralph Norman who they go with. Hopefully they don't go with someone crazy like that, but maybe they'll go with someone more reasonable. Who knows? Maybe they would go with someone like a Nancy Mace, who had just recently lost the governor's race there. But now it looks like the next senator is going to be, drumroll please, Darline Graham Nordone herself. It is likely going to be her because not only has she announced that she's going to be running for the full 6-year term, she also has received the endorsement from President Donald Trump. And so that could mean that other candidates who were considering getting into the race are not going to do so anymore. And this is obviously going to challenge Trump's position as kingmaker. We'll see how it all plays out. But ultimately, Darline Graham Nordone saying that I don't want to just stay in this position for a few months to honor my brother's legacy. I want to become a senator myself. And what is qualifying her to be senator? Well, the fact that she was the sister of a longtime senator. She also does have some resume, of course. She was the South Carolina Commission for the Blind commissioner and agency head for a good period of time from 2019 to 2026. And obviously that's honorable work. There's no doubt about that. But it's not something that you necessarily associate with a stepping stone for a U.S. senator. I'm not trying to, gatekeep who could be a lawmaker and who can't be and all that stuff. I think people from all different walks of life should be willing and encouraged to run for office. I think we need more teachers and firefighters and fewer lawyers and venture capitalists running for office. I just don't think that the place to start is with Darline Graham Nordone, who is only in this position in the first place because her last name, or one of her last names, is Graham, and she's, of course, the sister of the now deceased Lindsey Graham. Despite the experience gap, despite the fact that she's now likely going to be the next senator representing South Carolina, Sean Hannity is trying to gas her up and say that she is actually quite qualified and she has a lot of relevant experience.
You've had your own life and success, and Friday,
I have.
You have been the commissioner of South Carolina's Commission for the Blind. Mm-hmm. You've held this position since 2019. It's a 130-person agency, $90 million budget you ran, 10 offices across South Carolina, agency committed to helping individuals that are blind or low vision find employment, support their families, live independently. You're the leader in this field. You were elected, as I guess the national upcoming leader of the president of the National Association of Agencies for the Blind. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of experience. That's a serious budget for any one individual.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of employees.
Very important work, absolutely.
Oh, yes, of course. Sean Hannity just completely beside himself talking about Darlene's level of experience. This is the same guy, mind you, who 20 years ago, I remember, was talking about how Barack Obama didn't have the experience to be president of the United States because, sure, while he was a U.S. senator and he was a state senator in Illinois before that, and he was a community organizer before that, that just wasn't enough experience to be president in Sean Hannity's mind. But Darline, she has enough experience because she was the chief of the South Carolina Commission for the Blind. Give me a break. Now, another thing that's interesting about Darline is that it's only been a few days. We don't fully know what she's going to be all about as a senator, but she certainly doesn't seem to have the same foreign policy focus that Lindsey had. She seems to be a lot more focused on everyday domestic issues. In fact, during this same interview, she said, quote, Lindsey I used to see him on the talk shows. I would watch him and I'd be like, Lindsey, are you just talking about national security all the time? And I understand that's important, protecting our borders, national security, but talk about also what matters to the average person, the price of groceries, the price of gas, healthcare, insurance, those kinds of things. That's what I'm worried about. So all that stuff sounds good, especially because the American people say that that's their top focus right now, all those things that she mentioned. But does that mean she's actually going to do good things and support actual changes that are going to make people better off when it comes to those different things? Not necessarily. We don't know, because Republicans never seem to have any solutions for any of those issues. And when they do pretend as though they have solutions for them, they're really just ways to bring about tax cuts for the rich and deregulation. So we'll see what ends up happening if indeed she gets elected senator there. First, she has to get through the primary. Democrats are putting up an alternative, of course. That's Dr. Annie Andrews. So it's good to know that there are alternatives to voting for Lindsey Graham's sister and any other crazy right-wingers who may end up entering this race.
Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.